Hello there, fellow water skiers. So just about a year ago, or coming up on a year ago, I put out a video similar to this about future of record breaking, what was going on for 2023. But from some questions I'm getting, I probably didn't explain some stuff very well on there, especially when it comes to Guinness. So if you are watching this video on another platform other than YouTube, you might want to jump onto the Big Pull YouTube channel. I'll have a description on there, and there'll be links below in the description that will take you to a couple different parts of this video because it's going to cover a couple of different topics. So you might want to watch it on there. But if you're on Facebook or Instagram watching it, that's just fine too. You just need to listen to me ramble on a little bit more. So let's jump into Guinness World Records right away as the first topic here, because this is the one that seems to have everybody confused about what we've done in the past and where things are going in the future. So the very short version of Guinness World Records is we probably won't be doing much for Guinness World Records in the future at all. About 18 to 24 months ago, Guinness changed their policies of how you go about getting a record, applying for it ahead of time, and then following up after you've made your attempt. And so for the last 10 years or so, basically the process was you had to apply ahead of time for a record. That was cheap. For a while it was free, and then it was only $5. And you would go through and you'd apply months and months ahead of time. They would come back to you with questions if they had them, and then they give you a list of criteria you had to follow, generally multiple pages long, and we would jump through those hoops, and hopefully we were successful in our record attempt, and then we would file afterwards for the record to be approved and certified by Guinness. That process changed. And so now what happens when you go and apply for a group record, like we do, the big stuff, you get diverted. Your application immediately gets sent to something called consultancy services. I don't like that word or term. I hate to say it. It's a cash grab is what it is. And so what they do is they offer you and say, well, we're going to provide you with a person to help you get everything ready, a person to help promote your record that you're doing. You'll be able to use the Guinness logo, their trademark logo, which they're always very protective of, and all this stuff that in a nutshell, as show skiers, we don't care about. We're good at promoting ourselves. We know how to pull these events together. We've done it for a long time. And at the end of it, we're not trying to make a public spectacle out of this. We are trying to set a world record. And what they do then is give you a fee that you will be charged for these consultancy services. So it kind of blindsided me on one record I put an application in for, and all of a sudden I was told that was going to be $14,000. No joke. So as I was then, this is over a year ago already, as I was going back and forth with Guinness, like, what is this? Where did this come from? A group in Minnesota wanted to, for 2023, they wanted to do a pyramid record. So they applied as well with a pyramid record application. And they were quoted, I think it's $12,000 or $13,000 that they were going to be quoted for making that attempt. And by the way, if you fail, you have to do it again. So as I went back and forth with Guinness on this, they basically said, well, this is our new policy and procedure. It's written out and they are correct. It is now listed right on their website. You can go find it, go to Guinness website. And I think it's under the how to break a record procedure, and they spell it out for you in black and white. So at the same time, I put in an application for the most skiers behind a boat, which we keep talking about. We want to do 200 skiers behind a boat. Well, they wanted $23,000 for that one. So that kind of tells you where Guinness is going. Now, if you are an individual, just a single person trying a record, that you can still apply for under the old procedures. And at least as of this, to the best of my knowledge, as of this recording, that is still free, or $5 or something like that. But just know that we won't be pursuing Guinness anymore. There's no way we're going to do that. We always try to run these record events as cheaply as we can, even with sponsors. We try to keep the entry fees low for each individual skier, as low as we can, just to cover expenses. And now imagine if we had to tack on $10,000 or $12,000 or even $15,000 per per record attempt. So, it would be, hey, your next strap doubles line attempt, everybody's going to have to pay $250 or $300 kind of thing to be a part of it. We don't want to go there. So that's where we kind of sit with that. Now, you may hear over the next year or two, maybe even 3 years, you may hear of a record here or there being pursued for Guinness. And where that's coming from is that there are just a couple of us that have some open record applications. And while we didn't want to poke the bear too much, so to speak, I did have a phone call to London, to Guinness headquarters. This is probably about 7 or so months ago, where I called them and said, hey, we have these older open record applications that the applications have already been approved, meaning they're kind of over that consultancy services part and they've been approved to make the attempt. And they've said they will honor those. Now, I didn't want to go so far as to ask for it in writing because we actually have several of these different applications open. I have a couple. Kevin Ostermeyer has a couple. Gino Jockler has several of them. These are from past events where we went through that process and got it to the point where we actually try the record and we either A, didn't try the record, or B, failed on our attempt to do the record. And one of the things that once you're through that process in the Guinness portal they allow you to do is they allow you to update the location and the date of the record. As long as it's the exact same thing, you can try it somewhere else at a different time and day. So the three of us have been updating those dates to keep those record applications current. Because if you don't, after a while, I don't know if it's like 12 or 24 months, Guinness will shut those down. So we've been keeping those updated, but it's a couple of decent records, and then there's some oddballs here and there that we applied for a number of years ago for Chain of Records. I don't know if we'll ever do them, but they are out there. So know that you might see one or two of those pop up here along the way as we continue this process, but that's really the synopsis of Guinness and where we're at. So a lot of people have come back and said, hey, what's going on for 2024? Are we going for Guinness records? No, we're probably not, except for those couple that we have some open applications. So that's the rundown of Guinness. Let's just super quick, let's look at 2023. Obviously, we didn't do any record stuff there. Some of that had to do with the Guinness stuff and not being able to do it. The Minnesota group that was going to do a pyramid kind of pulled back from that because of that. And we were going to do the Skiing for Kids' Sake charity event. And I don't know why, it really just didn't click with people. And so I do apologize that didn't happen. It was going to be a complex setup, a ton of moving parts, way more complicated than running, say, a single record attempt kind of thing. And so that complexity played into it and trying to get people to register. But we just weren't, plain and simple, we weren't getting the people coming in enough to justify making it happen. So that event did not happen. And then we are coming to a horsepower limit. So jumping into the next topic now, let's talk about the new boat and the rumors that are out there. And there's some teaser videos going around and everything. And that's very intentional. The video I put out a year ago talked about a bigger boat possibly coming. And here we are almost a year later, and we're further ahead with that. It's not like I have pictures to send out that it's done and ready to go, but here's the update. So yes, a triple, not 450, a triple 500 rig is coming. It should be here for summer of 2024. So this is the Shawano Ski Sharks boat. They needed a new triple rig. Their hull was just aging out, and they want a new triple rig. And so they've had a couple of sponsors, one primary sponsor, and then some other sponsors as well that have jumped in on this project, who basically said, we want to help the team out, but we also want to become part of this national and world record breaking, events kind of thing. And so some people have stepped up big time as sponsors on this. No way would the team have done this on their own. Who needs triple 500s for their personal team boat? So it's the Ski Sharks hull, and their primary sponsor has stepped up to get the 3 500R Mercury engines. And we're far enough along that I can say the engines are coming. They've been ordered. There's a confirmation back from Mercury that they're coming. Kind of what we're being told, we're expecting them soon. Maybe not, here in December of 2023 yet, but definitely during the winter is when we are expecting them. So we're that far along. Parts and pieces are already here. This has been planned for. This has been coming up on a 2-year project now to make this happen. That boat was designed from the ground up. Learning everything we could from the world record boats that have come before. So, to Aqueducts, to Badgerland, to Rock Aquajays, thank you for all of your input and advice and everything else. We've been learning from their boats, and those boats have been used now for years for record events. And what did we need to do to make them better? And so that has all been built into this boat, paid for by the sponsors and everything. So it's a big deal. And it's coming, and we should have that for 2024. Now, disclaimer on that, nobody's ever done this before. We are taking every bit of advice we can from those 3 teams and their folks that are adding into this. We have a Mercury engineer that is giving us advice into this. Anybody that's had anything to do with building those other world record boats, we're trying to absorb all of that and bring that to play with this boat. But sure, we're nervous. We don't know what's going to happen the first time we drop that thing in the water. And it's going to be baby steps and very cautious steps, making sure that that boat balances out right and can ride right and do what we need to do. So we are moving full steam ahead, looking ambitiously for 2024. One key part is we have those engines for only 1 year. We thought we were going to get them for 2. The financing just couldn't happen on that. So we have them for a single season. Maybe it happens again in the future. We don't know, but it's been a massive undertaking to make that happen. So right now we are planning, it's a one-off 2024 season. That's all we have, the 500 rig. And that is, what our challenges are going to be and what we're going to pursue for records based off of that. So that segues into the last part of this. What is coming for 2024? You're going to see some kind of cautious answers here. I'm not trying to be coy. It's what I know right now, recording this mid-December 2023. So what's coming for 2024? We have that boat. That's great. We have some other world record boats that are out there that have proven themselves. But we know that for some of the really big challenges, the really big lines, the heavy stuff, the massive stuff, we are getting to that point. We are aware, as I've mentioned in the video a year ago, that 300s in many cases just are not cutting it anymore. And we need more power, hence this boat. So, what is coming? A barefoot event is, I would say, I'm about 80% sure right now, 85% sure that a barefoot event is coming, mainly because the primary sponsor that helped to build this boat and provided the bulk of the funding wanted it for that purpose. They want their name attached to that record, to that barefoot line record. So that is fairly sure that is going to happen. I should qualify all of what I'm saying right now is, as of this recording, we don't have a single site permit. And other than these big sponsors that have been funding this thing along the way, we don't have all the team sponsors in place either. So myself, some of the people from the Ski Sharks that are working on this, Kylie Wallace, who helps with this stuff a lot, we are all involved in this trying to make it happen, and we're a couple months behind where we normally would be because we were waiting on the engines. Well, now we know they're coming. So it's a lot of moving parts and moving wheels at this time, trying to pull this together. I would assume dates right now, potentially September 8th and September 14th. That's after Labor Day weekend. Those are always better times when I have to go to local governments for special permits and stuff. They're always real happy to work with us after Labor Day weekend when the waterways aren't as busy. Not so happy to work with us before Labor Day weekend. So those are the 2 dates I've been giving them. Again, none of those permits are actually in my hands, or I don't have record of them yet. They're all out to local governments waiting for sometimes what are up to 90-day approvals. So a barefoot event most likely coming. I would assume on September 14th, there's going to be a multi-day record event at Lake Dubay in Mosinee, Wisconsin. We were there in 2022 for the first time. It was a great site. It can get windy a little bit there, but it's one of the few sites left. I mean, even most of the tournament sites cannot accommodate our records anymore. They're just too big. So Lake Dubay is big enough, and we know it's big enough to accommodate that. So I'd say I'm about 50% sure right now that that event is happening. I have a lot of requests out to teams because we need team sponsors to come on board with their equipment, some of their specialty show ski equipment, and I'm waiting for those approvals as well. So we still need site permits, and I still need the teams to come on board saying we're willing to provide our equipment for the day of the record of attempt. So all that is moving at this time. What records are going to be done there? I don't know. So we're looking at two different things on that. Number one, and most importantly, what teams are willing to sponsor the event on September 14th that can provide certain equipment for making the starting platform. That's really the key. What kind of a starting platform are we going to have? How is that going to look? How much flotation does it have? All that's into play, and I still don't have those approvals from those teams yet. So as those teams come on board and their boards for each team approve that, then I'll have a better idea of what we could attempt. And that varies wildly depending on it. Above all, we have the 500 rig. We want to challenge that boat that, the sponsor asked for that. Pull big stuff, the biggest stuff you can. So we want to pull some things that necessarily maybe 300 rigs can't do anymore. So we want to go big. So that's the first part of it. Getting the sponsor teams that are pulling big stuff. We're hoping that the Aqueducts are going to come on board too with their 350 Suzuki rig. We don't think we were able to push that boat right to its limit in 2022. So we're hoping that they'll be part of that day as well. And between the 500s and the 350s, we're going to push those boats a bit and push that line and that boundary again. The other thing that we're looking at is the survey that I put out this past summer via Show Skiers Forum, asking people to rank what they were interested in seeing for big records, down the road. Actually, any records, but we're looking at the big ones. And so the top 5 are this. This were the results from 1 down to 5. Ballet line, pre-built pyramids, swivel line, doubles line, and barefoot pyramids. So those were the 5 coming down in order that we're going to look at as well. Now, especially when we look at something like, pre-built pyramids. We'd love to do it. Can we get the right starting platform? It's got to be tall, and it's got to be sitting, it's got to be sitting just right. Ballet line, holy cow, man, we're talking something super wide with a ton of flotation. Is that going to be okay? So that really depends on what kind of starting platform we get. Also coming into play, the last part of this is, do we have any Guinness applications open for any of these? And so we have to look at that as well. So those are all coming into play. Yes, we're hoping that there's going to be 2 different record attempt days in 2024. There's a potential. I've been talking with Kevin Ostermeyer. He may do something in 2024 as well. Don't know what that is yet. We're discussing back and forth. And so that's kind of what I know. We think any future pyramid attempts, those are going to be pushed up to 2025. So that's really it. If you got questions, please ask. Post on the Big Pull Facebook page. Send me a message directly. But that's kind of the summary of what's going on.